Good evening. Thank you for joining us here on Rwanda Television for the English News Bulletin. Let's begin with the headlines. The Prime Minister, Dr. Edouard Ngirente, affirms that it is necessary to abide with the environmental principles for ensuring the sustainable development of the mining sector. Aegis Trust has once again reaffirmed its commitment to advancing research and knowledge sharing. On the international scene, Blue Sky, a decentralized social media platform, recently experienced significant growth, surpassing 22 million users. My name is Olive Nete, and it's always a great pleasure to have you with us. Now let's dive in the edition in details. President Paul Kagame has congratulated Ms. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah on her election as the President of Namibia. The head of state expressed that Netumbo's victory reflects the trust placed in her by the Namibian people and reaffirmed Rwanda's commitment to continuing the mutually beneficial cooperation between the two countries. Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah, who won the election with 57% votes, becomes the first woman to be elected President of Namibia. She thanked the Namibian people for their support and assured them that she will fulfill the promises she made during her campaign. To other matters, the Prime Minister, Dr. Edouard Ngirente, affirms that it is necessary to abide with the environmental principles for ensuring the sustainable development of the mining sector. Prince Manzi has more on this.
The Prime Minister reiterated this while officiating the opening ceremony of the 7th edition of the Rwanda Mining Week. In his speech, Prime Minister Dr. Edouard Ngirente affirms that there is no sustainable development of the mining sector whilst subtracting abidance to environmental principles.
To ensure the sustainability and the growth of our mining sector, it is crucial to respect the environmental, social, and governance principles throughout the entire mineral value chain. To promote efficient land use, we must develop comprehensive plans for the entire life cycle of a mine, from its active years to its final closure. There is also a need to ensure that land is progressively rehabilitated to estates that benefit the local community and ecosystem.
Personnel in the mining sector emphasize their commitment to the government's goals, especially ensuring professionalism and eco-friendly procedures. Leonidas Simhezgwa is the acting chairman of the Rwanda Mining Association.
Taking the necessary steps to position ourselves at the forefront of global mining excellence. In our industry, safety is of utmost importance. Let us renew our commitment to sustainability, innovation, and collaboration as we continue to build a mining sector that is beneficial to all.
The mining sector is one of the critical contributors in Rwanda's economic growth. Rwanda aims to increase the mining revenues from $1.5 million to $2.17 billion by 2029.
Thank you, Prince, for the details. Now, moving ahead, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, expressed Rwanda's readiness to contribute to maintaining peace and security in the region. However, he noted that several challenges persist, including the lack of political will from the Democratic Republic of Congo, which continues to hinder the dialogue and peace process. Minister Nduhungirehe made these remarks on Wednesday in London during a dialogue held at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House.
The FDLR poses an existential security threat to Rwanda, not only because it receives operational support, arms, finances, and political cover from the government of DRC, but also because of the ideology of genocide it carries. This ideology, coupled with the obsession of regime change in Rwanda by the DRC authority, has now been passed to local armed groups. As the FRDC, the Congolese army, has formed a coalition together with Burundian forces, SADC forces, as well as European mercenaries. Rwanda will not allow our security and territorial integrity be put into jeopardy. This is why our legitimate, effective, and proportionate defensive measures along our border are essential. These measures will only be lifted in accordance with the neutralization of this threat. Rwanda remains ready to do its part in bringing about a lasting peace in the region and will continue to engage in initiatives to bring about lasting peace, including the upcoming tripartite summit between DRC, Rwanda, and facilitator Angola.
Now to other matters, Aegis Trust has once again reaffirmed its commitment to advancing research and knowledge sharing. On Wednesday, the organization hosted a conference focused on informing policy and best practices. William Evans has more on this.
As part of their long research week, Aegis Trust held their research and policy conference under the theme, Negotiating the Reconstruction Politics in the Vernacular in the Digital Age. The focus has been put around 3 key areas this year.
And this year we are covering hate speech, especially on social media, but also mental health within that specific framework of social media users, but also homegrown solutions with a research on Umugoroba w'Imiryango. And the 3 topics really emerged as in need to be looked at closely this year.
Kwizera Rulinda, who is a clinical psychologist and at the same time a researcher, told us that the desire to understand how social media affects young people inspired him into doing this research, especially since young people are dominantly the largest users and consumers of social media content.
Out of 160 quantitative research done, 46% had depression and 40 had anxiety, and a couple of 26 had loneliness, and 36 had stress induced from social media use.
Rurangwa Nelly, a clinical psychologist and a research discussant, says that Rwanda's current situation in the face of mental health-related issues due to social media is still low, which is a good starting point to protect against potential social media mental health risks.
And the first action would be inform yourself. Social media literacy is this, and what positive ways or in what constructive ways you could use the social media platforms, but also what are the potential risks and how you can overcome them. And now if we move a little bit up to, I would say, different social clusters, school settings being one of them, it's also educators jumping in the movement to also have such conversations with students on the different ways they could use it, so that they can, I believe, create a community whereby they could be accountable towards one another on how to maximize the benefits of social media, as they also avoid the harmful effects of social media.
Out of 160 young people that participated in this research, 46 were found to have depression, 40 had anxiety disorders, 26 suffered loneliness, while 36% had stress-related disorders arising from their individual usage of social media. William Evans, Mtabazi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Evans, for the details. Now to security matters. RDF spokesperson Brigadier General Ronald Rwanda emphasized the significant achievements made over the past 20 years since Rwanda began participating in global peacekeeping missions. He highlighted that these successes are a testament to Rwanda's commitment to security and affirmed that the Rwandan Defense Force possesses the capacity to ensure the safety and security of all Rwandans. He reiterated this in an exclusive interview with our colleague Adam Kwizera. Take a look.
First of all, the RDF is, I think, Rwanda and RDF are probably the only country in the world that is legally mandated in its roles, key roles, to participate in peacekeeping operations around the world. And so this is a decision that we made in 2004, 20 years ago, to participate in peacekeeping operations in different parts of the continent and beyond. Currently, we have deployed, from the time we started, approximately 82,000 soldiers in peacekeeping operations. We were the first peacekeeping force to deploy in Darfur in 2004 with about 155 troops in Rwanda Koi 1. Then we later on expanded that deployment to cover, a wide area. It was initially UNAMID. It was AMIS, then it became UNAMID in 2007. So we moved from 155 troops, and we expanded to approximately 5,475 in Darfur alone. We went on to deploy in 2011 in South Sudan, where we had our, forces deploying with different tasks actually. Those forces were deployed in different sectors, in Juba, in Torit, and Marrakech. And we deployed quite a sizable number, 2,582. And police deployed 411. So our forces have been involved in maintaining security in these areas. And, we divide our forces in several units. We have the Rwanda Aviation Unit that is deployed in Juba and Marrakech, whose role is to basically support in the transportation of UN peacekeeping forces, as well as providing evacuation of casualties and several, other roles. Then our land forces are involved in protecting civilians in IDP camps. That is the primary role, and I think we need to emphasize that because that is very critical. So our forces are involved in protecting IDPs in Juba, Marrakech, and Torit, and also involved activities that improve the security, human security, because that's very, very important. And that is a new, it's a concept that we adopted. We do not just seek to protect people. We actually go beyond that, and we ensure human security wherever we operate.
We are talking about these 10 years of peacekeeping missions on the sides of RDF. It's 20 years, those are the operations that began right after very few years after the genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda. It is understandable that the wounds were still fresh. The country was trying its best to rebuild itself. But how did RDF manage this and think that it is possible for them to start such missions of peacekeeping?
That's a good question. First of all, the vigilance with which we operate is recognizable, and that's the reason why every year our numbers are increased. And the proof is basically in the pudding, because we've operated in Central African Republic. However, of course, wherever we have gaps, luckily, we were allowed by the Central African Republic to bring in troops so that we have a more offensive posture. Because initially, the UN peacekeeping force has weaknesses within its mandate, where they cannot respond to the threat, especially when civilians are under threat. So what we have done, we have become more vigilant, but with limitations. Okay? That's one of the things we have done. However, we have also gone beyond that. We feel that in order to solve socio-economic problems, because that's usually the basis from which conflict emerges, we have to deal with human security issues. So our forces, wherever we deploy, it's a practice that we will be involved in human security activities. We shall help the community in terms of offering medical services where we can. We'll be able to, protect main supply routes that come with critical goods that are supposed to serve the society. For instance, in Central African Republic, we protect the MSR, the main supply route from Douala to Bangui. So you see, that is a lifeline of a city. So we have adopted that approach where we really have to look at the center of gravity, the center of survival of a community, and we deal with that.
You talked about bilateral forces between the countries, and in 2021 we've seen starting such operations in countries like Mozambique. How productive were it?
Bilateral interventions have really proved to be very effective in dealing with the problem. In Mozambique, for instance, maybe I should start with Central African Republic because it was actually the basis for which Mozambique may have requested for us to, support them. So in Central African Republic, you remember that the faction of President Bozize, the CPC, overran many towns, nearly capturing Bangui, while the UN was there. We are the highest troop contributing country in the UN peacekeeping force. But we felt threatened because of that mandate, you see. So luckily the President of the Central African Republic requested us to, to support by sending a bilateral force. So when we brought the force, it was able to halt the advance of the CPC and President Bozize's factions, who wanted to topple the government and, to basically fight with peacekeepers. And so we managed to successfully halt the advance of Bozize and actually even flush him out. And we reinstated the main supply route from Bangui to Douala. And we brought sanity. Now in Mozambique in 2021, Ansar al-Sunna wa Jamaa, a terrorist organization, had been there for 4 years, had killed over 3,000 people, displaced over 800,000 in Palma, Mosimbo de Praia, and several other, towns and cities in Cabo Delgado.
Like for Rwandan, hearing that, it's very nice, and that's very great information. But in several days, we literally hear some speeches of some officials around this region stating that they, at any time, they want to destabilize Rwanda. How can you assure Rwandans specifically that their security and peace are guaranteed?
I can only say one thing that I've already said anyway, that we cannot be involved in 6 or 7 countries, both police and army, in bringing peace and stability to those countries, and we fail to defend our own borders. It's not possible. It's not possible. We have the requisite skills, we have the training, we have the capacity, we have the resources, we have the will, most importantly, the will to protect ourselves. We are a united country, and we have protected our borders so far against attacks from within and from without. So we are capable of maintaining security, and I want to guarantee all Rwandans that security will be maintained. We shall continue progressing. These actors who are trying to destabilize our country will not succeed, because we are a united country, and we are a country that operates on principles and values, and we have succeeded so far in meeting our expectations and securing our borders.
Thank you, Adams, for the informative discussion. Now to religious matters. The Rwanda Interreligious Council has urged the Rwandans to exercise discernment and critically evaluate the teachings of self-proclaimed prophets who spread heretical doctrines. These warnings also extend to individuals who establish churches and assume titles such as bishop or apostle without proper spiritual or institutional grounding. In Kigali, numerous churches hold daily gatherings for prayer, thanksgiving, and the presentation of personal petitions to God. However, contemporary religious practices have become increasingly complex, making it difficult to distinguish between genuinely called ministers and those who claim divine authority for personal gain. Some individuals have turned ministry into commercial enterprise, offering prophetic messages in exchange for money. This trend is widely condemned by Christians and church leaders who argue that it discredits true servants of God. According to the RIC, such behavior not only undermines religious institutions, but also harms the broader society. Dr. Laurent Banda, Archbishop of the Anglican Church of Rwanda and head of the RIC, emphasized the Council's commitment to addressing these challenges, and he noted that the Rwanda Interreligious Council will soon issue clear guidelines to help curb the spread of harmful practices within various denominations, safeguarding both the integrity of the church and the well-being of the community.
The purpose of the meeting was the coming together of the new leadership team of the Rwanda Interfaith Council, the Religious Council. This is the first time we have met since we have elected the new board, if I can use that term. So we wanted to come together. But we also wanted to come together and look at the current context that we are in, with all issues that are going on, especially related to churches, sometimes church closures, sometimes church teachings, sometimes prophecies, sometimes new titles that people come up with, sometimes people waking up in the morning and naming or self-proclaiming themselves with a certain title. And so we thought, why don't we come together, analyze the situation of what is going on currently in the church situation, and start figuring out how do we address those issues, but addressing them after we have studied the scripture, after we have looked into what the Bible says, and then come together as leaders, maybe have a panel discussion of some sort, to look into what the teachings of the Bible say, to look into what these false prophecies, the distortions that are happening with the teaching of the scripture, the focus on materialism that is going on, some of the denial of the core doctrine of the church, some of the manipulations that are going on, all based on false prophecy, on titles that we are giving ourselves as leaders, on places of worship that sometimes cause danger to the lives of the people. So we wanted to look into all this in the context of what is going on and be able to provide a platform for leaders to discuss, talk about it, and then come up with a way forward that can help guide faith-based organizations, that can help guide church leaders and even believers and followers, so that we are protected from this distortion of teaching of the scripture, from wrong doctrines, from forming cults, from exploitative titles that we are putting upon ourselves.
Tomorrow news, Rwanda World Division has celebrated its 30th anniversary of operations in Rwanda, highlighting its positive impact on over 8 million children, families, and communities. The milestone was marked with reflections on its significant contributions to the country's development over the past 3 decades. Enora Gladys reports.
Since its establishment in Rwanda, World Vision has been instrumental in advancing the welfare of Rwandans, especially children. François Bora, one of the alumni beneficiaries program, shared how the support he received from World Vision transformed his life.
But because of World Vision, I was able to study all the way to university by their help. From uniform, school fees, books, they paid for everything. So I studied with so much security and peace. In school, I was not worried about the principles and things like that. So, today we are celebrating 30 years of World Vision impact in Rwanda, and truly, it didn't impact me only. The impact of World Vision goes beyond even those World Vision helped directly. So I'm so grateful for the impact, and I really strongly believe that World Vision will continue to bring great impact in the lives of people.
Various stakeholders collaborating with the World Vision in Rwanda acknowledged the organization's vital role in addressing some of the country's most pressing challenges.
Has been a vital partner for World Vision Rwanda, significantly contributing to improving the well-being of children, families, and communities. Initially focused on health, education, and WASH projects, the partnership expanded to address complex challenges like food security and climate resilience, while empowering communities through capacity building initiatives aligning with Rwanda's national strategies and the SDGs.
The National Director of World Vision Rwanda, Pauline Okum, extended her gratitude to the government of Rwanda and its people for their cooperation over the years.
Today we are very excited to celebrate World Vision presence in this country for the past 30 years. We moved to this country, first of all, to respond during the genocide against Tutsis in 1994. So we've been there ever since up to today. The journey has been very exciting, particularly the collaborative environment, both from the government of Rwanda, that has been very conducive, partnering together, aligning our strategy with the national strategy development goals for the country, and also partnering with our donors, particularly in financing some of the interventions that we do, and even other civil society organization implementers. It has been really an awesome journey, including faith actors. This investment has gone through programs like livelihood and resilience, water, sanitation and hygiene, health, education, child protection.
Rwanda's Minister of Infrastructure, Dr. Jimmy Gasore, commended World Vision's contribution to infrastructure development and its impact on the education sector.
Reflecting on the remarkable journey since its inception in 1994, World Vision Rwanda has made an indelible mark on the lives of countless individuals through its program in child protection and education, health, nutrition, WASH, resilience, and livelihoods. This organization has empowered children, safeguarded rights, improved health outcomes, and delivered access to clean water and improved sanitation. These contributions have fueled economic empowerment and fostered community growth across the country.
In 30 years of impact, World Vision has supported over 8 million children, their families, and their communities. The organization has invested $625 million in various initiatives, including building infrastructure and addressing children malnutrition. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Enora. Now to health matters. Health professionals from around the world emphasize that strengthening health systems requires collaboration across sectors and adopting innovative approaches. This was highlighted during a two-day international conference in Kigali, which began on Wednesday, bringing together health ministers and other key stakeholders to collectively explore solutions to global health challenges. The Minister of Health of Rwanda, Dr. Sabin Sanzimana, highlighted key challenges facing the sector, including the shortage of medical professionals, and stressed that leveraging technology could be a transformative solution to drive positive change in the healthcare system.
Across the continent, at least to the data we have shortage of people, staff, that are needed to take care of the lives of our citizens in our respective countries. If you look at the ratio, we are to 1 overall, 1 provider for 1,000 people. Talk about doctors, nurses, and midwives as an example. And the World Health Organization has come up with a minimum ratio. If you are below, your healthcare system is going to have difficulties and even to collapse if you have an additional pressure like an outbreak or pandemic. And that is 4 providers for 1,000 people. And across the continent, we are at 1 or less. This is a high risk, a very high risk. And that's why as a country, as Rwanda, we made it our first priority is to increase the number of healthcare workers, at least to reach the minimum acceptable level. And this has to happen very quickly. So we set a target to achieve it within a period of 4 years. And that is from 1 to 4. It's 4 times, 4 years. It became our slogan now. It's a flagship priority called 4x4. So quadrupling the healthcare workers within 4 years' time. We are implementing already in the first year. And we see that is actually going to happen because the first year enrollment into medicine, into pharmacy, into sciences, we managed to achieve 3.6 times enrollment in the first year of implementation of this strategy.
Dr. Lucy Mazaba Mazianga, the representative of the Africa CDC in the East African region, urged countries to assess the impact of epidemics, analyze their spread, and identify areas with weak immunity. She emphasized the importance of investing in strengthening these vulnerable areas.
Countries need to decide that this is where we want to put our resource. So a lot of times you've seen that many countries will put money on buying medicines, a lot of medicines, and most of those medicines actually expire without having been used, and yet those resources could actually be put towards getting the right workforce in place. So countries need to re-look at their burden of disease, use that evidence to determine what is the best solution for our country. Should we put it in human resource? Should we put it in prevention?
Dr. Amit Taker, the chairman of Africa Health Business, emphasized that collaboration and innovation are critical to sustaining health systems. He highlighted that no individual or country can address a pandemic or other health challenges alone, citing COVID-19 as a prime example. He underscored that the global effort to eradicate the virus would not have been possible without collective action.
COVID-19 laid bare what we have been not doing. To be honest, we were really slipping. It showed us our weaknesses. It showed us it was about time for us to wake up and think about health equity in a complete different way. We need to rely in Africa, by Africa, for Africa. We need to build systems that will rely and build on the strengths that we have. Partnerships matter. Global partnerships matter. Engagements with the multinationals and development partners matter. But the structure and the foundation should be truly African. COVID-19 also taught us that if we want to succeed in health systems, it cannot be done alone.
To other matters, the Unity Club in Rwanda has launched the 4th round of discussions under the Ndi Umunyarwanda program in universities and colleges, urging youth to engage with Rwanda's history and counter genocide ideology and historical distortion, particularly through digital platforms. The launch event took place at the University of Kigali, focusing on fostering unity and resilience among students. Survivors of Rwanda's tragic past share their personal journeys of healing, demonstrating how they have overcome their experiences to become a source of support and inspiration for others. Participating students highlighted the valuable lessons gained from these discussions, emphasizing their commitment to promoting the core principles of Ndi Umunyarwanda within their communities. They recognized the ongoing responsibility of spreading its powerful message of unity and reconciliation across the country.
We need to tell to others is one, that we need to love each other as Rwandans. That's one. The next thing is, today we've learned that regardless of where you came from, regardless of your religion, regardless of the way you look, the important thing is being a Rwandan. That's one. It's the best foundation that we can base on to put the better way of our country living in future. Now, like our His Excellency always tells us, it is up to our decisions in our hands to start where they stopped, because our parents, like now they are leaving, so they are leaving the field for us to pray. So all we need is to preach the gospel of being a Rwandan, love each other, construct our country in a better way. They are using the same social medias as we are using. They have the same means that we are using. If their bad message can reach far, why is it that the good message cannot reach far as well? So we are going to fight against them, not by hands, but through replying them, showing what is on the ground, because what they are saying is they are lies. They are speculating. Yet for us, we are saying about the good things, the tangible things that are on the ground, that have been done. We have seen our country, it has derived from 30 years, a few years here, by the way, where it is now. So I think we have the better way of taking over them.
You're still watching RTV News now to matters making headlines globally. Blue Sky, a decentralized social media platform, recently experienced significant growth, surpassing 22 million users. The surge is attributed to users migrating from X due to their dissatisfaction with changes under Elon Musk's ownership. VOA has more.
Social media platform Blue Sky started in 2019 as an experimental project within Twitter and was led by its co-founder and former Twitter CEO, Jack Dorsey. After the 2024 presidential election, the alternative platform to the Elon Musk-owned X has seen a surge in popularity.
Well, Blue Sky has experienced a massive surge in popularity in large measure because I think that once Donald Trump won election in 2024, there was a sense among many people that Twitter really was effectively done for now that, Elon Musk was going to basically become a member of Donald Trump's administration.
In the first week after the election, the platform saw roughly 1 million new users a day. The pace has slowed down since the election, but a tracking site shows Blue Sky is gaining over 180,000 users per day. In the world of professional sports, SV Werder Bremen Football Club was among the first ones to leave X for Blue Sky, where they admittedly don't have as many followers. But
we as a club cannot stand up against discrimination, homophobia, transphobia, anti-Semitism, hate speech, and so forth, and then remain on a platform where all these things are increasing very rapidly.
Other social media platforms like Threads also experienced a surge in new users, but what makes Blue Sky unique is the way it was designed.
Blue Sky has no algorithm. It gives you an enormous amount of choice in who you follow and what content you see.
Pieper is unsure if their move to Blue Sky will be a success, and they're open to other options. What they're sure of, though, is that they're not going back to X.
We have some sense for some values, and if you take this seriously, you have to make some decisions. So we did that, and we feel quite comfortable with that.
Despite this shift away from X, experts say the company has a dominant position on the market, with over 300 million active users every month. Blue Sky has a modest 22 million users, which makes it a niche platform, but it continues to grow. For Andrei Dzerkach in Washington, Anna Rice, VOA News.
And that wraps up today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us for today's broadcast. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a continued productive week ahead. Stay safe.